Good evening, everyone. My name is Bobby Shaw. These will be my notes for tonight. Tonight we'll be talking about cybersecurity in the modern day era. If you're unaware, there's a growing epidemic taking place. Hackers from all across the world are trying by any means necessary to get their hands on your personal data, your secure data, your debit card information, credit card information, whatever they can use to steal your money, steal your identity, steal your livelihoods, whatever they can do, they are trying to do. This is by means of procuring their own wealth. Sometimes it's a mean of cyber warfare by separate countries. But it is a growing epidemic. Not only do we need to familiarize ourselves with methods of securing our own information, we need to know where things like this take place, who could possibly be victims of this, how often it happens possibly, and maybe we need to hear a few testimonies, a few revelations ourselves to understand that this isn't just a myth, that this doesn't just go on in third world countries and second world countries, that this happens in developed countries more often than not, and it's because we have become so technology aware that we try to allow technology to take over certain aspects of our lives for convenience, for our convenience matter. Let's start off with who in this equation. And by that question, I mean, who could possibly become a victim of identity theft, of hacking, of this cyber warfare that everyone talks about? The honest truth is anyone. Anyone who's ever used the internet, anyone who uses a computer on a daily basis, a cell phone on a daily basis, a debit card, a credit card, any means of electronic payment. We are all susceptible to something like this happening. Simply owning an iPad with access to Wi-Fi makes you a possible victim. Storing credit card information on your phones, on your computer, even shopping at your favorite supermarket can make you a victim of identity theft or this cyber warfare that everyone speaks about. All of this entails cybersecurity. It's not only one of the biggest growing fields, but it's something that every individual needs to make themselves somewhat aware of so you can protect yourself. And while talking about the who, I can't only speak about the common man, the common woman. Huge multi-billion-dollar companies experience these threats day to day. Companies like a Walmart, companies like a Target are hit daily with hackers trying to steal information that they have on you and use it for themselves. Or simply get into the company's networks so they can get access to the databases that once again contain your information. If you've ever created a Walmart account and you've saved your debit card inside of there, that is stored on Walmart's databases. So if a hacker can get access to that, they have all the information on you that they possibly need. What do we usually add in any typical account that you make on a website nowadays? What is it? Your first name, last name, mailing address possibly, your basic 16-digit credit card number with expiration date. All of that is the information that is the key information they need to steal money from you. And with that information inside of those accounts, once they have the information, they can go to any online retailer they want. Or nowadays with companies like Square that exist, they can enter in your information on their little Square app and just take a chunk of money directly from your bank account because they have all the means to do so. Those are just a few examples of everyday experiences that we can find ourselves in. Now that we've spoken a little bit about who, which we've openly acknowledged that not only is the common man, common woman susceptible, that huge multi-billion-dollar business is susceptible, let's talk about where this usually happens. Once again, the scary part, everywhere. Any place that you go that accepts an electronic form of payment is a place where your information can be stolen. The Walmarts of the world, the Targets of the world, the common supermarkets, department stores that we go to have all admitted to, in one form or another, experience hacking. Experience one side or another of this cyber warfare that we speak of. It is dangerous, and it is unfortunate that so many people, so many hardworking individuals can have everything stolen from them by some coward in another country. Or unfortunately, sometimes it's your next door neighbor. These people can be anywhere. One of the most common reports by Fox Business states that in 2013 alone, that there were 9 million cases of companies having information stolen. It's a ton That is a literal ton of everyday working common people having information, having debit card information stolen, money stolen that they've worked hard for, and it's gone now. A lot of this is through different means. Let's start with your common household PC. Malware, more commonly known as a virus, a specific type of virus that is placed on your computer. What this does is once this virus is implanted, usually it's in the form of a downloaded file, a downloaded email attachment. Once that download takes place, let's break down a little bit further. What a download is specifically. A download, when you download a file from a website or you download an email attachment, that is a file taken from one place and placed on your machine. The way malware works, the way a virus works, is the moment that file is placed on your machine, it executes itself. And during that process, it will go searching through every file you have on that machine and see if it can find personal data. And even if it doesn't locate any personal data, it will copy your IP address and use it for a further moment. And while it's traversing your data, it tries to find your password to that computer, where that computer is currently located. Let's not forget that you're on the internet right now. So that certain IP, that is that computer, you have to make that two different directions. That transaction that takes place to download that file from one place to another, that file has to know where it's going. So it can tell where it's going, which means that information is captured in the form of cached data on your PC. So once that hacker's virus has access to your machine, it has every means of knowing where you're located, what your interests are. Remember, it's going through every file on your computer. It's going to find out what your interests are. That cached data I talked about, that gets recorded from every single website you ever visit, so they know what your interests are. They can find out what your password is to that machine. So if it's a desktop computer, when you go to bed at night, they can remotely turn that machine back on and start using it to do other things. They can use your machine to hack a Walmart if they want to. And once Walmart reports that it's been hacked, and it tells it who's been hacked, the police come knocking at your door saying it came from your computer. That is just one of the scariest things that they are possible doing. And guess what? It all started with a downloaded email attachment. It all started with going to the wrong website. That is what is possible with things like this. That's how 90 million people get their information stolen. And that's in 2013. 4 years have passed since then. And that is a century in technical years. In 4 years, hackers have gotten better. They've increased their numbers. They've become more skilled. And remember, a billion-dollar business has an entire IT department dedicated to protecting its data. What does the common man or woman have? They have possibly a Wi-Fi password. And guess what? The latest reports from CNET for the year of 2016 said that the word all lowercase password was still the most common password on every household computer.
Oh my goodness. What?
That means any hacker in the world, their first attempt is the right attempt.
Wow.
Just that simple. Let's talk about one of the largest department stores possibly in existence. Let's talk about Target, a place we all go to do our grocery shopping, maybe get a basketball or football for our young son, maybe get a soccer ball, pom-poms for our young daughter, shoes, clothes, pots and pans, certain electronics, video games. One of the largest department stores all throughout the United States. This recent holiday season reported 40 million customers experienced hacking of their bank accounts. Guess what? Another 70 million experienced information and personal data being taken from Target itself. An attack that large. 70 million people's data now belong to some hacker. And let's remember that these hackers don't always keep it for themselves. If you're not familiar, there's a place called the dark web. It's where hackers go to communicate information. I'll say it lightly like that. Let's say communicate information. One of the things they do is they take that information from a certain hack and they host it on the dark web, which means the other millions of hackers can go and buy your data. Because let's think about this. If a hacker hacks a Walmart and they get a piece of your data here, they might not have everything they need to hack you or your bank account at that one moment. They don't get rid of that data. They keep it. And they wait for another hacker to do a hack and they put that data on the dark web. Well, that hacker goes and buys all that data, and guess what? I just found out I have two connecting pieces. I put it together, now I can take everything from that person whose data I have now made complete. Just that simple. And these attacks, they don't happen on one occurrence. Now that these people have your data, what do these companies always do? They always make a public statement asking you to change your data. They ask you to reset your pins. They ask you to go and cut up that card and go order a new one from a new company. There's a reason why every major bank supplies regular debit and credit card owners who have experiences hacking overnight shipping on a new card. It's because they want to give you all the tools that you can possibly have to resecure your data once you've experienced a hack. Neiman Marcus, a high-end luxury retailer, they alone have said that over the past few months they've had 1.1 billion customers' data either exposed or money taken from them. That's a luxury brand who can afford, once again, one of those large IT departments, the newest, latest, and greatest technology, and they are still being taken advantage of. NPR reports themselves that over 30 other major retailers have experienced the exact same things this year. Major cyber breaches. And these companies, yes, these companies usually try to tell individuals about the large hacks, but you don't hear about the everyday scenarios. They talk about the large hacks, the 1 million people, the 1 billion attacks, they'll tell you about those. They might not tell you that maybe 1,000 people's data got taken today. They don't mention that because it's not big enough. It's not big enough to come out and talk about. But do not confuse yourself. These things happen every day, and it's very, very dangerous, and we all need to be aware of it. Another example, we've talked about the private sector quite a bit. How about we talk about the public sector a little bit? Government cyber warfare. Governments all across the world now not only acknowledge that hackers exist, we now want to employ them. Anyone who lives in the United States understands that there have been numerous reports in not only Russia, North Korea, certain parts of China, that there are hackers all over the world possibly employed by these governments who are often and regularly trying to get into not only U.S. military installments, but they also want to make their way into the FBI system, the CIA system, the DIA system. Why? Because if they can get into the CIA system, they can get information about their foreign agents on their soil. Help them protect themselves more often. They may get the newest nuclear launch codes for the United States government. You never know what they can get their hands on. So what has the United States government been forced to do? They've been forced to employ their own personnel, not only obligated to secure U.S. borders, but to also retaliate in some ways. Sometimes we need to know what another country might be doing, might be planning. And unfortunately, these are means to do it. I say unfortunately because they are able to do the exact same thing to us. Therefore, we have to level the playing field by doing it ourselves. Now, kind of a feel-good story about the private sector. The United States and Israel partnered to implant a virus, another type of malware, on the Iranian nuclear, an Iranian nuclear facility is what I was trying to say. What they did is they implanted this virus, executed the virus, and apparently the virus was responsible for over 1,000 new nuclear centrifuges going bad. Had to replace all of them. Literally shut down almost an entire installment in what they were working on. That's just one case of us being successful with using this technology. Unfortunately, like I spoke about earlier, the retaliation takes place. We ourselves have been victims of this exact same type of attack. Maybe not on as big of a scale, but I believe they have existed over numerous possibilities. Now, I've scared you enough into talking about the several ways that this can happen, the stores you go to, possibly being a victim. I've talked to you about the warfare that goes on, not only on the common man and common woman level, but on the government level. Let's talk about some ways that we can secure ourselves, okay? Now, let's start with basic devices. The days of people owning a desktop, and in some ways even a laptop, are gone. What do we all own most normally? We own cell phones. You have seen cell phone companies make a concerted effort to making sure that we can secure our mobile devices. One of the most common ways nowadays, fingerprint sensor. A very safe, a very security conscious effort to secure phones, because not to mention people go to their websites on these phones as well. There are several banking apps for your phone. Every time you log in, remember that's data being transmitted somewhere else. Now, you've heard of efforts of Apple and their Apple Pay. You've heard of Android Pay. This is your way of saving your debit or credit card information on your phone and then using it to buy things. That way you can use your phone instead of having your card. Yes, that is a great idea. To store, the convenience of storing your credit card on your phone is unimaginable. But it's also incredibly dangerous if you don't secure the phone first, if you don't have a password on your phone, or if you don't use your fingerprint to gain access to your phone. That means anyone could possibly just come, take your phone, and immediately they have all that data on your credit card immediately available to them. Another one, let's talk about email. What I referenced earlier about password being the most common password, all lowercase password being the most common password for not only PCs. Turns out that email addresses were the exact same way. Or all lowercase, first name, last name of the person holding the account. Securing your email password, usually with at least 12 to 15 characters, one uppercase level, one uppercase letter, one number, one special character will be more than enough to stave off intruders, at least for 3 months, and then you will probably need to change your password once again. Most government positions require you to change your password every 3 months. And nowadays, the Windows 10 system actually just came out with their own option for you to go in and set how often you want to reset your password. Your computer to force you to reset your password. Another effort by a multi-billion-dollar company to help us all become more security aware. Another large one actually, securing your home Wi-Fi. One of the easiest and most important ways. We all love to browse our devices at home. But once again, if we don't secure the method we use to get onto the internet and someone can come gain access into our home network, we are once again just susceptible to becoming a victim of one of these attacks. That exact same process to securing your email is the exact same one you can use to secure your router. What it comes down to is we all must make an effort to not only secure our devices, but secure our means of accessing our money. Secure our money any way that we can. Secure our information any way that we can. It's not just our money. Remember, it's your personal data that leads to them getting access to your money. So you must protect yourself in any way possible. So in conclusion, what we've looked at today, we've looked at several opportunities, several avenues for hackers to intrude your life. We've talked about through your web browser. We've talked about through your mobile devices. We've talked about through your router. We've talked about the places that they usually go to. They go to the large department stores, but they also attack the small mom and pop stores. So we've talked about who can become a victim. We've talked about where they tend to attack. We've talked about how. We've talked about them using viruses, them using malware to get access to your laptops at home, to your mobile devices in your pockets. So we've talked about many ways that you can protect yourself and how and what methods they use to gain intrusion to your life. Thank you all for coming tonight. I hope everyone's a little bit more aware, and hopefully we can protect ourselves in the future. Thank you again.